Virtual Racing School was developed to provide support to the next generation of sim racers. No matter if you're a rookie or veteran or what car or track you'll be racing, our goal is to provide training every step of the way. We found that iRacing can be quite difficult without proper training. There needed to be a way to prepare for on-track racing. With VRS, you can literally learn from the best sim racers in the world, including four-time NASCAR iRacing World Champion Ray Alfala.
And Ray Alfala is a four-time champion of the NASCAR GT3's iRacing Series.
Three-time iRacing Grand Prix World Champion Martin Kroenke.
Martin Kroenke becomes a three-time world champion.
Rallycross World Champion Mitchell de Jong.
Mitchell de Jong is now champion for the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Series.
And many other top sim racers. Data packs include everything you need to start learning. Our World Championship coaches create the data packs by setting a hot lap or a series of fast laps for you to compare, analyze, and replicate. Data packs also include a tutorial where the coach points out techniques they use to hit the fast lap. This gives you access to the latest driving techniques and setups before you even hit the track. Sign up for a free account and download the VRS telemetry logger. With this application running seamlessly in the background, your laps automatically start syncing to the VRS website. From there you can analyze and compare two laps of your choice, whether it's your data, the coaches, or your teammates. VRS will automatically target improvement opportunities so you can get up to speed even faster. VRS also makes it easy for you to request and schedule one-on-one or group coaching sessions. These sessions can range from 30 to 90 minutes, and you can select the car, track, and setup combination of your choice. Visit virtualracingschool.com today to sign up and get started.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to round 5 of the Apex Racing League GT3 Pro Series here live on Apex Racing TV. My name is Andy Thompson. I'm joining the commentary booth with Dave Whitehouse, and on production we have the wonderful Dennis Branch. So round 5, we're going around Road Atlanta. So Dave, it should be a good track for them, but looking at the grid, we've got a reduced grid tonight, only 16 drivers, so some really good opportunities on a really good track to get some valuable points.
Yeah, you're very right there. It's Road Atlanta. It's got quite a fast bit over the back of the circuit, but as you can see on your screen right now, the twisty section really does prove to be one line, or there could be incidents there, and with 16 cars on the grid, people will want to take advantage of this, and that's where, especially at this time of championship, when we've only got, I think it's about 4 or 5 rounds after this.
Yeah, definitely. So this is round 5. So certainly the hot parts of the track on this are turns 2, 3, 4 and 5, as you alluded to there, Dave, is the very tight downhill section, which is very much a one-line race. But you know, with these being pros, they're pretty sure that they'll try and get too wide down there, and I'm probably expecting to see a couple of incidents on the opening lap maybe, but you know, previous rounds have been really clean on the opening lap. Then we got the really long straight after turn 7 going down to the chicanes into 10A, which is a really good opportunity to pass coming down into that hairpin down into turn A and turn B before they head uphill and back down again onto the start finish. So yeah, it should be a really good track to watch. Obviously, we have got a reduced field, like we were saying, of only 16 drivers, but I'm pretty sure that is not going to detract from the entertainment that we're going to have for the next hour race coming up.
It certainly won't detract from the entertainment. These guys are all going for the win whenever they're out on track. The one thing to mention firstly is championship leader Sven Newman is not on the grid tonight, so that's going to give big chance to second Moldovan, Penn, John Derrick, Brandon Tabone, Chris Beats, all to move up. Michael Paulich is not, Majek Paulich is not on the grid either tonight. So that gives Richard Gavencu, after his brilliant podium at Laguna Seca, a chance to move through. Maybe he can prove me wrong with an outside overtake again. Dominic Engel, Matthias Beer is on the grid tonight, and that's for your top 10. And they'll all be looking to take advantage that the German Newman is not here. He has been very dominant recently in terms of his results, not always winning the race, but being there or thereabouts, and took advantage of a couple of slip-ups by Moldovan, especially last time out when Moldovan was leading till about 5 minutes to go. So it's certainly championship making this race, even though the championship leader is not here.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what it does do, it'll mix up the championship again, because as you were saying, Sven Newman was almost running away from it with the first 4 rounds that he's had. He was extremely dominant in the last 2 rounds, winning them quite comfortably. Obviously, the last round was a little bit tighter for about 3/4 of the race with the racing there that he had with Bogdan Moldovan he was currently sitting in 2nd place, and unfortunately he lost out for an incident coming down in Laguna Seca down into the corkscrew of all places in Laguna Seca, and sort of he ran away, ended up being about 9 seconds ahead at the end of the race. But you know, certainly it's going to mix it up tonight, that's for sure. We've got a lot of the top 10 within the race that will certainly close up on Sven and make the last 4 rounds after this extremely interesting. And obviously, looking at the rounds, we didn't know the rounds before the start of this week, so I'll just quickly run through the rounds that we've got coming up. So obviously round 5, round the Road Atlanta tonight. Then we've got Long Beach at round 6. Round 7 is the brand new Hungaro ring, so I would expect to see everybody out on track for that to first outing in a league, Apex League. Round 8, round Road America, really good track. Looking forward to that one. Ended up in round 9, round Phillip Island. So some really great tracks coming up in the last part of this season for the drivers to tackle.
Yeah, some great circuits, especially the new Hungaroring, which to me was a bit of a shock to be thrown onto iRacing so quickly. You know, there's other circuits in the world they could have picked, but Hungaroring does prove some good racing, especially in GTs. Long Beach will also be very interesting, especially with that tight hairpin at the end of the lap. It'll be whoever can get that right throughout the whole hour-long race will certainly be in pole position to have a good race. I noticed in practice for this round, everybody was covered by a second maximum. I know it's a bit of a short lap round here, but 1 second covering 15 drivers. Dennis Meisner joined late in the new Ferrari, so he didn't manage to get a time on the board. But that shows how close this qualifying session is, and already we have the top 3 covered by 0.04 of a second.
Extremely close, as we can see on the time in town there. And Brandon Tabone was quite quick into the practice, so he topped the practice standings for the 2-hour practice that they had previous to the qualifying. So he seems to be very fast around this track, and like we were saying, you know, with all the drivers that are currently in the top 10 of the championship and the top 10 of qualifying, you know, this is the ideal opportunity to close up that gap, to make the points really close, and to give the guys that were down in sort of 8th, 9th and 10th for the championship a real opportunity to get some valuable points here tonight. Obviously we've got 70 points for the first place, 63, 58, and then it goes down in increments of 2 of that after that. So some really valuable points for all the drivers on this track. And what is interesting is only one person has gone for the brand new Ferrari, which is Dennis Miser, who's currently in 15th, as we saw some off-road racing there going down turns 3, 4 and 5.
Yeah, I haven't managed to drive this new Ferrari yet, but that might be the case with some of the drivers that they just haven't had time to test it yet. But Dennis Meisner going for it. We've also got, I believe, he's not actually on the timing at the moment. Is he still in the lobby? Yeah, Callum Garton just gone up to P8, and he is in a BMW. Previously in a Mercedes, I think, or a McLaren. I can't remember which. But yeah, so a couple of cars. Sorry?
I think it was a Lamborghini he was in.
Oh, maybe a Lamborghini, yeah. But Callum hasn't had the best start to the season, but now 3 tenths off on his first outing in the BMW. So good going there by him. But as you can see, the top 15 covered by 7 tenths of a second. And second in the championship, Moldovan, 10th. Only 10th at this stage.
Yeah, definitely, but only 0.4 of a second off the lead. So we're getting into the final realms of qualifying at the moment. So literally 2 minutes 20 seconds. So probably 1, maybe 2 laps for these guys, depending where they are currently out on track. But as we quickly run down the order, Brandon Taboni currently in pole position. Richard Gafencu getting up to 2nd place at the moment. Leon Penn in 3rd. Gripstad 4th. Hereford 5th. John Derrick 6th. Calamari in 7th. 8th is Calmari, sorry, not Calamari. He's not a slippery character, or maybe, I don't know. Hitala is in 8th, Garton in 9th, Gimsmart in 10th at the moment. Like you said, pretty much the whole grid, apart from Dennis Miser, who joined literally 20 seconds before we were going into qualifying in the session. Everybody else is covered by 1 second.
Yeah, it's very close, and some big laps going to need to be pulled out here. As we said before, the top 14 are covered by under half a second, and in 13th place is that second in the championship, Moldovan. This is the race he really needs to take advantage of, but at the moment, I'd say Richard Gavencu and Liam Penn are taking advantage of this because they're 2nd and 3rd on the grid, close enough, and just gone out for their final runs on their outlap at the moment. As we can see, John Derrick here coming through the chicane near the end of the lap. Will he be able to improve on his 6th place? It's 0.179 off pole position at this time. It's been green for a couple of seconds on this lap. He goes across the line and does improve. He's up to 3rd place and makes it the top 4 covered by 0.04 of a second. So it's a hair's breadth between them all.
Yeah, and I think it's quite important to get the higher positions on this track, certainly for that first lap coming through this section, as we're currently watching Richard Gafencu on, as he cuts that line quite tight. It's going to be hectic around that section, and it's a real good opportunity for the front runners to try and get away, because I'm pretty sure that they'll the rest of them be nailed up. But you know, if this round goes to championship form, sort of there'll be a long training for around about the first 15 to 20 minutes of the hour-long race, and then it all starts heating up, and we start seeing the fractions between the grid, and we start finding these little pockets of battle coming in. But I think what's different about this one is obviously it's looking like it's going into, I wonder if you could put up the time on track, Dennis, as well as we can look at that. So I think this is probably going to go into a night race, I think, at the moment. So we're at 19:50 at night, so it's almost certainly going to get dark towards the end of the race. So we can see here now with all the drivers with the full lights on, as we see John Derrick getting into the pole position on his final lap, a 1:17.752. So managed to pull out quite a big lead over the rest of the field there. So it'll be interesting to see if we've got anybody else that can challenge at the moment. So John Derrick literally nicking the pole on his final lap around here. So we'll see if Bogdan Moldovan can actually move up from his current position of P7.
Yeah, imagine telling any of the people in the lower half of the top 10 that you're 3 tenths off pole and you're still It's just about scraping into the top 10 as we see Moldovan come across the line and not able to improve. So it's John Derrick, the winner in Montreal, who claims a pole position here at Road Atlanta. Brandon Tabone in second, with podium finisher at Laguna Seca, Rich Kavenku, alongside Liam Penn on row 4.
So yeah, so the first obviously night race that we're going to have this season. So it'll be interesting to see how the guys react to driving in night. I don't think there's very much illumination around this track, but obviously the lights on these cars are super bright, so that won't be a problem to these guys. And it's all going to come down to probably reflex actions and driving this track so many times, these guys, that it'll be second nature where to turn in, where to brake on the corners. But it'll certainly make for an interesting stream. It might make our job a little bit harder, Dave, but I'm sure we'll handle it.
Yeah, I mean, can't you tell the difference between a Porsche and Ferrari's lights? Well, if we know Ferrari lights, it's okay because there's only one on the grid.
Lambo's all right. They got lights everywhere. So as we quickly go through the grid here, so on pole position, John Derrick in first place, Brandon Taboni in second, Richard Kofenku in third, Leon Penn in fourth, Albon Grebstad in fifth, Ossian Herford in sixth, Bogdan Moldovan in seventh, Otto Hertler in eighth, Kurt Kamari in ninth, Chris Beats 10th, Callum Garton 11th, Kieran Smart is currently in 12th. 13th place is Matthias Beer, 14th is Dominic Engel, 15th Ronald Grossman, and bringing up the rear is Dennis Meisner in 16th place. So all really close on this. Obviously a smaller grid than we're used to on this. We had 20 drivers last round. 16 drivers tonight, but I'm pretty sure the action will still be frenetic out on track and everyone fighting for the position, and gives the guys on the grids a really good opportunity to get some valuable points in the standings.
Lights are already on for the drivers. They're definitely finding it a lot darker than our cameras are, even though you can see the darkness over by the trees in the background. But with this one lap of rolling start, it's just going to get darker and darker as this race goes on, hour long, with a pit stop in the middle. Whose strategy will work out on this circuit? I'm not quite sure because it's quite a longish pit lane. You have to exit on the exit of turn 1 as the cars head off on their formation lap. I'm not sure if we may be missing a car on our left-hand side of the grid, to be honest, because I think Poleman pulled away very quickly and nobody else seemed to go. But it does look like Richard Gavenku is there. So we'll see as we head round to the start.
Yeah, I didn't see any cars in the pits there, so hopefully we haven't lost another one, taking us down to 15th. But, you know, I don't think tyres will play a part in this one because obviously it's a night race, nice and cool for the drivers. It's going to make it a little bit more treacherous at the start of the race, getting them tyres up to temperature. But, you know, these drivers are experienced. To get into the season, you need to be at least a minimum of 2.2 KI rating. So all pro standard drivers, and I think the highest is around about 7K in this championship that we've got going on today, and obviously the rest of the season. So some quite high rated guys here. So just getting out onto the first time coming out of the turn 5, coming down into turn 6 here, getting that really long straight after turn 7. Turn 8 and turn 9, which are not really turns, are basically going to be flat out from after turn 7, going down the back straight, coming down into the chicane. So be interesting to see the first lap. Hopefully nice and clean, all the drivers get out safely, but I'm pretty sure that we're going to have a big long train for at least 10 minutes of this race to begin with.
Yeah, this is a part of a circuit where the BMWs will really stretch their legs. But the first half of the circuit is probably where the Porsches will just have that little bit of an advantage through the handling section, like we saw with the same at Laguna Seca and other circuits. Back onto the old style American circuit, I would say here. Grass and concrete walls on either side. So one mistake and you will be in there. As we can see, the safety car is pulling ahead and the cars are backing up, ready for the start of this race as they head down towards the chicane.
Yeah, John Derrick just holding the field off from the safety car to give him the decent run that I'm pretty sure he's going to go after this chicane going over the hill coming down, and we'll see if that's the case. But the rest of the drivers really close on his tail to get away as he pulls away now. So good start there from Brandon Derrick. He managed to get in 0.3 of a second ahead of Brandon Taboni coming over the line for the start of this 60 minutes race. The rest of the field pretty much staying where they are. A couple of places gained, a couple of places lost, but overall nice and clean through the first corner, coming up to the first time turn 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, the downhill twisty section, as it looks like all the drivers at the moment get through, but the front two managing to get a bit of a gap as we watch Kieran Smart unfortunately be a first casualty coming down into the like S's coming out of turn 3, as we watch John Derrick getting a little bit squirrely, which is give Brandon Taboni the inside line, and Brandon Taboni manages to get up to first place now. So great start from Brandon Derrick, but obviously a bit of a mistake, and Brandon Taboni basically taking the lead there as we watch Engel having a bit of a spin coming out of turn number 7 going down onto the back straight. So a very unusual place there to spin. So a couple of casualties on the first lap, Kieran Smart and Dominic Engel.
Yeah, a couple of casualties, but didn't get sort of involved with anybody else, it seems, as we watch Engel come down through a twisty bit. And I suspect he's just going to run wide here, get on with gravel a bit. Yeah, there we go. And just it takes you quite far down that straight in the end, but heavy damage to that car with that hit on the wall. So he'll be back in the pit soon. But we can now see Richard Gavencu and Leon Penn fighting hard for third place, and they are letting the two leaders pull away slightly at this stage. Those two were side by side through the opening three corners before Penn decided to give way. But in this early stage, it just looks like Penn's got that little bit more pace. We did see this the last round in Montreal, where Gavencu just had that little bit more pace, and it was that's where he got his podium from. He had the pace near the end of the lap, so we'll see whether near the end of the race, as we see him move there, not quite coming off there, and all positions are held.
Yeah, definitely, as we watched Kamari come into the pits, 32 seconds, so quite a long stop for him, so probably just maxed out his fuel to see how far he can go into this race. Probably still have to do a splash and dash at the end for himself and Kieran Smart, currently on 26, so going around about, so the pit stop time has looked around about 32 seconds, 31 seconds going in, as we watch the gap here. So Brandon Taboni managing to put out a 0.7 of a gap over John Derrick at the moment, who's sort of in no man's land. Richard Gavencu in third, 2 seconds behind him, but he's got Herford all over the back of him with Leon Penn right on the back of Herford. So, you know, the top 5 covered by 2.3 seconds, and then there's the big long train that we come to expect in the first half of this race, all the way down to 11th place Matthias Beer. So pretty much from Herford all the way down to Matthias Beer, covered by less than 3 seconds. So, you know, big long train there, but certainly at the moment Brandon Taboni trying to pull out the gap at the moment on John Derrick, who's 1 second behind him at the moment, and Richard Gavencu 2.2 behind the leader. So, you know, Brandon Taboni, as we've seen in qualifying, very quick, and we've seen in practice, getting a little bit of a lead going into this race, the first night race of the season.
Now this could get quite interesting, because Herford and Gribstad have shown pace at times this year, but haven't really been in the top battles in the races. Now they're running 4th and 6th, and for somebody like Penn and Moldovan, who have been fighting at the front all year, knowing who you're going to fight, they might not be too sure on the moves. That, as we see a move there by Gribstad trying to get past Penn not seeming to have too much pace at the moment. Gribstad goes to the inside, can't make it through, heads to the outside. But for these guys who are normally at the front, will have some sort of idea how, say, Tabone or Derrick or Gavencu race, whereas Herford and Gribstad, they're normally sort of 12th, 13th sometimes. So it'd be interesting to see how they apply themselves with the pressure at the front, as we now see Callum Garton, who's up into 8th place, one of the best runs he's had this season since he's changed cars, and that BMW working a lot better for him.
Yeah, definitely, as we watched just a little bit earlier, Dennis Meisner obviously coming a cropper. I think that was coming out of turn 5, as Oh, he's not having the best race as he goes back to the pits lane. Obviously, caused too much damage, and we got Kurt Kamari back into the pits as well. So that's the second time. So he would have already taken his fast repair. So that may be one of the drivers currently out of the start of the race tonight. Obviously, depending on how much damage he had. Dennis Mize, I think that's his first incident, so he should have his fast repair to be able to do. But you know, Bogdan, which is a really good opportunity for him to try and leapfrog Sven Newman and get some decent points at the moment. He's currently only sat in 7th place, so hasn't made up any or lost any positions at the moment on the thing. The biggest probably mover is Callum Garton at the moment, up 3 places from where he started in 11th place. So he's the biggest gainer. The rest of them are like 1 or 2 places, but this is what we always come to see, certainly in this first 15 to 20 minutes of this race, as we watch him going down the twisty section at the start of the lap, which, as you can see, sort of is one line to only take within the championship around this track. You will get the optimistic ones that will try to make a lunge onto turn 2 and 3, but normally it doesn't really pay off around that section. So as we see at the moment, Brandon Sponey just managing to keep that 1 second advantage at the moment over John Derrick in 2nd place, and Richard Fenku still not making up, but certainly he's in a battle at the moment with Hereford, and the pen's just dropped off slightly off the back of Hereford, and is in the clutches of Gribstad with Moldovan just behind him as well. So certainly the battle for 5th at the moment seems to be the hotly contested, as we see Gribstad trying to get up on the inside of Penn, but obviously Penn will have the inside coming out of the chicane coming down onto the hill to the start finish straight. So Gribstad, you know, make it known to Leon Penn that he's there, and he's going to get past him at any opportunity, and constantly looking for the overtake as he tries to get him on the inside up into turn 1, but not managing to do it again, losing a lot of speed, and then getting into the grips of Moldovan in 7th place. So he just needs to be wary of that. He's pushing it rather hard at the start of this race. There's still another 43 minutes left to go.
Yeah, Bogdan Moldovan has got serious issues here. He gets a little nudge from Callum Garton through there. He's got Gribstad, who keeps having a dig at Penn, and he really needs to get past Gribstad as he heads to the inside here as they head towards turn 6. Doesn't quite make it. Callum Garton going around the outside. Will he make that stick? Bogdan gives him room, and Garton still on the left-hand side as they head down the long back straight. Both BMWs, so there shouldn't be any power advantage, but behind them Chris Beats has the slipstream as well. So will Moldovan lose out 2 positions here? He has the inside line for this fast right, and then we go down, and Chris Beats is going to the inside of both of them, and oh, there's almost contact there. Garton goes round the outside of Bogdan Moldovan. Brilliant move in the first part of the chicane, and now it's Beats who's all over Moldovan.
Yeah, Moldovan there with a rather aggressive cut to that inside line coming down there, lucky not to cause a little incident there between himself. But you know, we saw Gribstad have the pace, and Garton as well. It was only because Gribstad was a little bit slower that Garton couldn't get past earlier in the round. Had to pretty much put on the brake, but then got an excellent manoeuvre coming out of turn 7 down onto the long straight, and managing to keep that place going down into the turn number 10, coming down into the hairpin. So all the action starting to kick off on track, certainly for that 7th place at the moment, up to 6 with Gribstad. Gribstad getting away slightly with the battling that Garton, Moldovan and Beats are having at the moment, but certainly with the pace that them guys have gone, they'll probably pull Gribstad back into contention for that fight that will ensue. Just a quick shout out to our 3 main sponsors for this round: Virtual Racing School, SDK Gaming and Apex Racing Academy, giving some excellent prizes. I think this is the first championship that the top 10 drivers within the championship will get prizes of varying standard, with the first place getting the gold standard across all 3 of the platforms that the sponsors offer. So some great prizes across from our 3 main sponsors. Also, if you watching on YouTube, a big shout out to you. If you've got any questions you'd like to discuss, or you just like to give somebody a shout out, you know, put it on the chat, and we'll endeavour to get it onto the stream for you to see who you're sort of supporting for this race. Also, if you like what you're seeing and you enjoy it, then please give us a thumbs up, give us a subscribe, and click that bell, because we have many series here on Apex Racing TV. So we've got Formula V's on Monday with a brand new Mazda that's been announced today on the 4th of October. On Tuesday we have this, followed by the GT Trophy Championship. Wednesdays we've got the Radicals. Thursday we've got brand new TC cars starting up very shortly. Friday we got the brand new Porsche Cup car starting this Friday. So and Saturday we've got the Formula 2 with Sunday being GTE, and a brand new Gauntlet series, which is four different cars over varying tracks, so you don't know where you're at. So go over to apexracingleague.com and have a look and see if anything takes your fancy. If not, just join us here on Apex Racing TV and enjoy the fun. Also, head over to our social media pages. We are on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Just look for Apex Racing TV, where you'll get snippets from the races and obviously all the news, the latest news from Apex Racing TV. So please go over there and have a little look, as we currently watch Leon Penn in 5th place, who has pretty much, you know, has got Hereford just in front of him at the moment. So he lost a little bit of pace, as we saw earlier on in the race, and Hereford's just managing to keep that 4th place at the moment. But certainly Richard Kafenku seems to be the one on the move. He was 2.2 seconds behind Brandon Taboni, but it's now only 1.4, so he's certainly got John Derrick in his sights.
Yeah, Kafenku, as we said before, does pace himself quite nicely into a race. And that battle we were just previously seeing, Penn and Gribstad, Gart and Moldovan, as we just see Kieran Smart jump to the pits. He's obviously crashed somewhere out on circuit, but that whole group have brought themselves up to Hereford, who will hopefully drag himself towards the top 3. But there's a 4-second gap there now, and the top 3 are now covered by 1 second. Kafenku, the quickest out of the 3, by 1/10 of a second on the last lap. So it's not huge gaps in times, but it's just enough for him to close in. We still have 13 cars on the lead lap, and the top 12 only covered by 12 seconds. That's all the cars we've seen not have an issue. So on pure pace alone, it's still a very close race, as we now see Callum Garton trying to have a look at the back of Gribstad, the 7th place runner. Best we've seen from Callum Garton. He's had pace all year, just not the luck. You see Moldovan behind, having to defend from Chris Beats, and that gap has opened up between these 4 and the following 4, and that's not what Moldovan wants to see. But now we quickly look at Kafenku all over back of John Derrick. Will he take a dive into the chicane? He has a slight look, but just tries to distract the Brit, who is in the Lamborghini, the winner from Montreal, as they head round to start the next lap.
Yeah, so what we're seeing here is Richard Kafenko all over the back of John Derrick, which is almost pushing him up to Brandon Taboni. So we're seeing this gap slowly erode down. So we're now down to 0.5 of a second between Brandon Taboni and John Derrick. So Richard Kafenko doing a really good job for John Derrick in 2nd place, pushing him along to Brandon Taboni. So it's probably paying off to him having Richard Kafenko just behind him, because now the gap is 0.8 of a second between 1, 2 and 3. And these guys are sort of stretching their legs a bit more over Hereford in 4th, with Gribstad just behind him. So these 3 getting away, getting a bit of a gap between themselves and 4th place, but certainly, you know, within 1 second of each other, and battling extremely hard, as we watch here with Chris Beats currently in 9th place, just behind Brandon Moldovan in 8th place. So he's struggling a little bit tonight. Obviously, it might be the effects of the night racing. It does disorientate a few drivers when you get there, and as we can see in the timing tower, we've already lost 3 from our starting grid. Kieran Smart, Kurt Kamari and Dennis Meisner are currently out of this race. So currently only have 13 drivers resting, as we watch a big hit there currently on Garton managing to spin it and getting down into 11th place. So optimistic lunge. It'd be good to see that back if we can, Darren, just to see what fully happened there. But I think that might have been an optimistic move down the inside, and unfortunately Garton was the one that suffered from that. So as we see here, trying to get the dive down on the inside, slight little touch there, and I think it's a bit of overspeed going into the corner. Unfortunately hit him, and Garton just coming off the worst there, managing to spin the car. The other two managed to keep it on track, facing in track, but Garton obviously having to hold his ground to let the rest of the drivers through. So it's currently in 12th place and has gone into the pits as well. So just adds insult to injury, and he was certainly on the charge, as we currently on board with Otto Hertler in 9th place. So, you know, even though we've got such a small grid, there's a lot of action going on.
Yeah, it's a huge shame for Callum Garton. Just guy's braking point just slightly wrong into there. Probably too busy watching Leon Penn on his right-hand side, but he outbraked himself and swiped into the side of, was it Ribstad, possibly, as Moldovan and Penn go side by side into the same chicane. But at least the other two continued, and it was Callum Garton's mistake, and he came off worse from it. So no worries there. As we see Moldovan, is that Moldovan dropped to, yes, to the back of that pack. I'm not sure what happened there. He was fighting Leon Penn down into the chicane. Moldovan goes to the inside. Penn fights back in the second part, and then he just gets shoved by Beats. I think that was Beats in the Lamborghini, and that was well caught, because Beats actually gave him 2 nudges to straighten him back up, but it just didn't help him out overall. And let's hope there's not too much damage to first Gribstad's car from Callum Garton, and Beats and Moldovan with that collision.
Yeah, definitely is. We see another retiree from the race, Carlton Garton, deciding to give it up, which is a bit of a shame, because, you know, even if you are within 3 laps of the first place, and because it's such a small grid, it'd be still a decent amount of points hauls that you can actually get, even being in 13th place. So quite surprising that Callum Garton decided to not continue in this race. Obviously he did have his fast repair, unless he took it early on, and seems to be a lot of casualties using that fast repair and then still managing to get damage. I think this is one of them tracks that you can quite easily spin it off and get quite a lot of damage on there. You're always on that limit around this track.
Yeah, I'm not sure Callum would have used it, because he was quite high up on the field for most of the race. But looking back at the front two here, John Derrick has closed into Bone, and they dropped Richard Gavenki by about 1.2 seconds. Gavenki with a slow couple of laps, not miles off the pace, but slow enough to drop that far back. But now John Derrick firmly with Tabone in his sights, and after his second win of the season. Currently looking at these top 3 in the championship at the moment, John Derrick has claimed his 1 win and 2 5th places in the season so far. Brandon Tabone has been consistent with 7th and 8th, and 1 podium in 3rd place when John Derrick won in Montreal, and Gavincu has that podium he had last time out in Laguna Seca, but then it's 10th place is next best. So these 3 really want a big result from this race to push on, as we see John Derrick go into the outside of Brandon Tabone into the final corner, trying to get the cut back. Is that going to work down to turn 1? Not quite. BMW of Tabone just with the extra pace, and the Lamborghini of John Derrick turning to the inside. Will he get it tight enough? Not quite, as they head down into the S-Bends.
Yeah, definitely. As we see John Derrick here, too wide going down there. Very optimistic move. It's going to be putting them both offline, which will let Richard Kafenku get right onto the back of him, because he can take the line. And we can see he's taken near enough 1.7 seconds out of the front 2 with them fighting over this 1 lap. So Richard Kafenku must have had an issue on one of the earlier laps to get back, because we know he's got quick. pace, and obviously currently managing to get back onto the back of them, as we see John Derrick getting that position done through the S's. A very, very bold and ambitious move, but it pays off for John Derrick, that currently leads this race. Brandon Taboni in second, Richard Gafencu in third, and then sort of 4 seconds back from the leaders, Hereford in a little bit of a no man's land at the moment, with Leon Penn and Chris Beats, with Gribstad is the one that's fighting currently at the moment for 5th, 6th and 7th at the moment. That's probably closest on field, where we got Hertila and Moldovan that are quite over. Moldovan just seems to be going backwards in this race at the moment, so quite struggling at the moment, but we've still got 40 minutes left of this race to go, so plenty of time to Moldovan just to get his groove going on in this race, and trying to get them positions back up. But at the moment, it's certainly John Derrick, Brandon Tabone and Richard Gafencu who are out front, and showing that those three have got the race pace over the rest of the field at the moment.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the times for Grossman back in 11th place, but he's only 13 seconds off the lead. So currently, at the moment, if any of the top 3 want to pit, or any of the top 4, even though they have that big gap a bit further back, so 3 or 4 seconds to the next car along, they're still going to come out behind the presumed slower drivers, which obviously, all being pro drivers, nobody's slowing this championship. I think Grossman is doing a great job there. Not had the greatest of seasons so far, but sitting in 11th, 13 seconds off the pace, and setting quite 119s very easily at the moment, and not pushing too hard and not losing too much to the leaders, because they started battling on that one lap. As you can see now, it's stretched out to 1.1 second lead, as John Derrick just tries to stretch the legs of that Lamborghini before he thinks about making a pit stop.
Yeah, definitely. The Lamborghini is one of these cars that loves tight, twisty tracks. It's very good on the brakes, and got a decent amount of speed down the straights as well. Obviously, Brandon Taboni is currently in the BMW, which is a little bit more sluggish around the corners, but certainly got that top end speed. And we've got Richard Gafencu in the tried and trusted Porsche, currently in 3rd place. So we've got 3 different car classes in the top 3. So just a quick shout out to one of our sponsors, Virtual Racing School. So if you want to improve your on-track performance, they have over 50 plus data packs covering road and oval racing. That includes setups, track guides, data analysis software to find out where you're losing that little bit of time over the pros. They also do one-to-one coaching, so head over to virtualracingschool.com and just see what they can offer you to improve your iRacing standards. I'm pretty sure they have something for everyone over there. As we currently watch Leon Penn with Chris Beats just behind him now, so he's within that striking distance with Leon Penn. Leon Penn's just been struggling slightly a little bit around this track, and Chris Beats is right on the back of him in the Lamborghini at the moment. Our sole American flying the American flag tonight is Chris Beats, currently running in 6th place, but has Leon Penn in sights. As we see, we see Richard Gafencu coming out of the S's, getting it a little bit wrong there, and losing a lot of time to John Derrick and Brandon Taboni, but still managing to keep it, and still 2 seconds ahead of Hereford as we watch what happened here, coming down into the S's. So coming up around the first corner, so getting a little bit out wide, so straight away he's out on the grass taking it really wide, which is gonna put all sorts of wrongs going into the S's. So a bit of a dirty tires, so a bit of a mistake there round turn number 1 for Richard Gafencu, really trying to keep up with John Derrick and Brandon Taboni.
Yeah, as we see an early pit stop for Brandon Moldovan today, not going his way, and an early pit stop to see if that will make a huge amount of difference. I think what happened there with Richard Gafencu is, there's curbs around here are not as flat as they look. They like little sausage curbs that you see on the European tracks, and as soon as you catch some of them, you just start riding it, especially through that S section, and if the car bottoms out, you've got no chance of recovering it. So he did well just to keep it straight and go straight on, but as you can see, 4.5 seconds back now, and he's going to have to go on a mini charge now to close that gap, ready for the pit stops. As we see Chris Beats and Leon Penn and Gribstad all fighting there over 5th place. They've dropped a little bit back from Hereford now, who's having a quiet run in 4th place, but solid. His pace is really good, and he is actually now in touching distance of Gavenku because of that. And could he go for his maiden podium?
We'll have to see. You know, Gavenku's getting back on his paces. So I'd imagine he'll start stretching his lead over Hereford, but Hereford would see him closer now, which may spur him on. But certainly the big battle at the moment is currently for 5th place. So Leon Payne, Chris Beats and Gribstad all covered by 1 second on the race. So this is a really tight race here for 5th place at the moment, and all valuable points for the drivers that normally would find them a little bit lower down in the grid with the normal size grid. But with this smaller grid, you know, they're going to be picking up some really good valuable points which will move them up into the championship standing. And with that top 10 prizes on offer, you know, everything's to play for within this championship, and these guys are doing an exceptional job at the moment, just trying to get that elusive 5th place off Leon Penn at the moment, but all covered by 1 second.
Yeah, Gribstad's best results this season is an 8th and a 9th, but Oyster Hertford, his best position this season has been 2 16th places, which is obviously going to better in this race because there is only 12 currently running out there on circuit. So 4th place would be a huge boost in the points for him. But I think he's got one eye on Richard Gavenku. While he's running well, why not try and get that podium? But the lead currently for John Derrick down to half a second again. And these two leaders just seem to be a bit like an accordion at the moment, as there's a bit of dust kicked up there by Derrick. It's as you can see at the bottom, the gap just keeps stretching out and closing in, stretching out and closing in at the moment. And Gavenku has fallen to 5 seconds off these two now, so it's definitely between these two at this stage. And let's just see if maybe Richard Gavenku could bring in a bit of strategy as Derrick again kicks up a bit of dust on the outside of the circuit, using every inch of it and more to try and hold back Brandon Tavone.
Yeah, certainly a hot contested win looking on the cards here between John Derrick and Brandon Tavone. So Derrick seems to get out and then Brandon pulls it back. And at the moment, obviously, Richard Gavenku currently in 3rd place. It was on the back of these drivers. We know he's got decent pace, but currently 4.6 seconds behind the 1st place guy at the moment. He's in sort of like no man's land with Hereford currently 7 seconds behind, so a 3-second gap there. But certainly a hotly contested 1st place battle going on here between Brandon Tavone here, as we can see right on the back of John Derrick. But that Lambo certainly seems to have a lot of pace around here, and you can sort of see when he goes around the corner the power and how much cornering speed and under braking, how much he can brake is a little bit later than Brandon Tavone here, going in and gets that little 1/10 of a second coming out, which obviously will then come into the BMW on the straight. We'll try and get some of that back, but you know, he's at the moment John Derrick seems to be having the way of this track, but Brandon Tavone's not going to let him have it for free, that's for sure.
Yeah, as we see Chris Beats heading for a pit lane. This is the first of our so-called front runners into pits. He was ahead of Moldovan before. The Moldovan pitted as he was falling down the order, but Chris Beats falls down to 10th place currently. He's in the pits, he stops in his box, and let's see whether he can get out ahead of second in the championship, Moldovan, as we now see that gap closing between the top two. Here's Bogdan Moldovan, going down into the chicane. We haven't had a representative pit stop time come up to my eye. We're just going to see what Chris Beats does here, because everyone who's been in already, like Moldovan, pitted early, a lot of fuel needing to go on. Beats 21 seconds stationary, comes out of pits in 48.7 and will hold on to 10th place ahead of Moldovan. So if the joy was there for Moldovan, knowing Sven Newman was not in this race, that joy has disappeared in the last 28 minutes.
Yeah, definitely currently sat in 11th place, but only 2 people have pitted so far, himself and Chris Beats. The pit times were quite interesting. Bogdan only had 18 seconds stationary, where Chris beats 21. So it'd be interesting to see if Moldovan can actually stay to the end of the race with his fuel, or if he's drastically got his fuel calculator completely wrong, considering he stopped quite a few laps before Beats as well, and Beats took on more fuel. So it'd be interesting to see to the closing stages of this race if Moldovan has it. Oh, as we see Beats taking a big wide exit coming out
Derek.
of, is that Derek? Oh no, Derek taking a wide exit off losing pole position there, coming out onto turn number 5. So easily done on the turn 5, coming uphill off after that twisty section.
Absolutely right. So easy. Just on that corner going uphill, you can just miss the apex chute. Luckily, there's only a small amount of gravel before you're back on the tarmac of the cut through from on the smaller circuit. So it doesn't mean he's lost too much time to Kavenku, but he has lost the lead to Brandon Tabone, who now leads the point of the pit stops. And let's see if anybody heads down pit lane yet. Tabone doesn't. I think they'll probably go a little bit further if they can. Maybe that might have been the sign for Derek to pit, just to pull himself together for 10 seconds in the pits and just give himself a chance to calm down. But he lost a full 2 seconds on that lap, as we now see Chris Beats closing up onto the back of Gribstad, who pitted the lap before. So we've now got a few cars that have pitted. The top 8 still to come in. And again, I was saying about Grossman's pace earlier, an 18.7 there by Grossman, and he's 18 seconds off the lead. So any of these cars can still come into play in this race over the next half an hour.
Yeah, definitely. We've seen quite a few incidents at the moment with the guys. You know, we just saw one earlier on with John Derrick losing the first position to Brandon Taboni for a slight little mistake coming out of turn 5. And this track can reward the good drivers, but can also bite back really easily if you get offline slightly. As soon as you touch one of these the outside grasses or the dirt on the outside or on the inside, it can throw the car quite violently. And although the walls look quite far away, you know, because you're going at such a speed, it can throw you across the track and hit them. So, you know, there's still everything to play for within this race. Like you were saying, for Gribstad, it's got decent pace. He is the top at the moment of the guys that have pitted, as we've got Hereford, who coming from 5th place into the pit lane now. So they'll all start making a trace. And Grossman has come back into the pit again. For his
first stop.
Yeah, his first stop as well. So be interesting to see what sort of times they're getting in the pits. I think Moldovan may have misjudged how much fuel he needs to get the end of this race to only take 18 seconds stationary. As we can see, the rest of the drivers taking around about 20 odd seconds to pit at this late stage, and I think he pitted around about 23 minutes, something like that. So yeah, it's gonna be certainly close for him, and he might have to do a splash and dash at the end, as we see Gribstad managed to get in front of Grossman. So Grossman coming down out of the pits behind Moldovan. So Gribstad beats Moldovan, managed to get in front of Grossman, but Grossman's not that far behind, so he's just chipping away, keeping it nice and clean on the races. Currently we have only 12 drivers left in this race. We've lost 4: Callum Garton, Kieran Smart, Kurt Kamari, and Dennis Meisner. So unfortunately coming out as casualties of this race, being the first night race that we've had for this season so far. So throwing up a few little issues for the drivers. So just a quick shout out to one of our other sponsors, Apex Racing Academy. They currently have 29 data packs for setups, track guides. It's fully integrated with a VRS, weekly group coaching sessions, and plus many more. Please head over to apexracingac.com to see everything that the guys over there can offer you to improve your iRacing experience. And yeah, get into some of these leagues as well. You know, these leagues are really good, really a lot different to the normal iRacing leagues, and you can actually apply your crafts a lot better with the higher standard of driving, should I say, than you do find out on the normal iRacing series. So come on, go over to Apex Racing League and just see what takes your fancy over there. There's plenty going on, as we said earlier. As we watch here, Brandon Taboni getting 3.9 seconds over John Derrick, and he comes into the pit. So first place coming into his one and only pit stop, and John Derrick and Richard Kafenku following closely behind him. So top 3 pitting now.
Yeah, I'd expect these 3 to all come out in first, second, and third places. Everybody in the race has now pitted for the leader of the pit stoppers, as we call them. And there's not really been any changes. Nobody has gained or lost anything. Hertford is 2 seconds ahead of Penn. Penn is 2 seconds ahead of Gribstad, who's got Beats behind him, Hertler and Moldovan. So in the end, the early pit stops haven't really helped, or the later pit stops. It's all sort of been as you were, as we see these 3 all in the boxes next to each other as well. As Tabone heads out, he was first out. And Derek and Gavencu. Gavencu looks like he might have gained a little bit back over that, but definitely a very good stop by all 3 teams. And they come out with their 5-second lead back to Hereford intact.
Yeah, definitely. So the pit stops there. Brandon Taboni, 20.4 seconds. John Derrick, 19.92 seconds. And Richard Kafenku, 20.2 seconds. So, you know, nothing in the pit stops coming out. And as we were, really. So Brandon Taboni still got that lead. 2.9 seconds over John Derrick. Richard Kafenku, 4.4 seconds behind Brandon Taboni. The real battle, I think, at the moment is between Gribstad and Beats on track at the moment, currently in 6th and 7th, respectively. So less than a second between them, 0.7 of a second between them, and obviously just with Leon Penn again, just up the road, just out of the clutches of a Gribstad at the moment. He's so close to getting on the back of him for that slipstream down the long straight, but losing a little bit over Leon Penn at the moment. Leon Penn's just holding him at arm's distance at the moment, but certainly all to play for in the last 24 minutes of this race.
Yeah, as we come out of pits, actually, Richard Gavencu is closed in on John Derrick, and he's only sitting about 1.3 seconds behind. So while the pit stops seem quite equal, Richard Gavencu certainly gained a little bit just before off camera, and John Derrick, from leading this race, that one mistake has put him under pressure by Gavencu and let Tabone off the hook, who's now cruising ahead. But is he cruising to his first win of the season? As we got a car off, it's Matthias Beer, who was having a battle with Grossman, so Grossman moves up into the top 10. See what happened here, where the 2 collided. They go into turn 1, and Beer just loses it. Grossman has absolutely nowhere to go. He spins round, but Beer gets fired off towards the barrier, and there'll be damage on both their cars, but Grossman really had nowhere to go, as Beer had just lost the back end.
Yeah, an unfortunate incident there coming around turn number 1 with Grossman and Beer, unfortunately picking up some damage there, so it'll be interesting to see what it does. So Demick Engel, which we haven't talked about, in 12th place, just chipping away, and like we said, you know, he knows now he's not going to win the race, but what he is looking at is he's looking at the points for the championship. 12th place is still a decent point haul for him, and with having some of the big names that are currently not in this race, you know, we'll get these drivers back up into contention for that top 5 place, maybe even higher at the end of the race. So Demick Engel, which I'm surprised Garton didn't actually do the same, because he literally had one incident, came in and decided he had had enough after that one, whereas Dominic Engel was not probably had the best race, but he's sat back there in 12th place, and we'll still get a decent points haul for where he is. And with Grossman and Beer, as we see Beer obviously having another spin, not sure where that is. Is that in the pit lane? Is that
That's heading into pit lane? Yes.
Yeah, so he had a bit of an incident trying to get in there, coming in for his fast repair. So, you know, he could pass, as we see there, as we talk about it. He passes Beer, goes into 11th place. So it'll be interesting to see if Grossman comes in, or if the damage on his car is okay, he can still drive. So it'll be interesting to see his lap times at the moment, as we see a big battle here between Gribstad and Beats for 6th place at the moment, where Beats is closing in on Gripstad to try and look at that pass. So pretty much these two have been battling it out all race at the moment. And it's still probably going to go all the way down to the wire with these two.
Yeah, talking about Engel sitting ninth in the championship, so any points are important to him for one of them prizes. And actually, his best result of the season is an 11th at the moment. So 11th, 12th is sort of the average he sort of finishes. So actually, cruising around and picking up a PB for the season could be great for Engel in terms of his championship. But it doesn't look like the damage is too much for Grossman. He's just set a 19.9, so he's still relatively in the ballpark of some of the lap times we've had in this race. But now the closest gap is this one on the screen between Gripstad and Beats. It's been going on this close for most of the race, especially since the pit stops, and they've dropped Otto Hurtler, who has also dropped Bogdan Moldovan, who seems to be cruising around in 9th place. Maybe he has made a mistake with the fuel and he's just trying to get it there to the end. At the moment, he'd only actually lose 1 place by hitting again. I don't know if he's realised that, but or maybe he just hasn't got the pace today. He wasn't pushing forward earlier in the race. But we're looking now at the leader, second place, where Richard Gavencu is back on the charge of John Derrick for that second place.
Yeah, so 1.1 second behind him, so closed up quite considerably on the back of John Derrick. So I'm pretty sure in the next couple of laps, Richard Gavencu will be on the back of John Derrick and will be pressurising him for that second place. But at the moment, Brandon Taboni 3.6 seconds ahead of these two guys battling over second place. So it's only going to get extended when these two start coming together and start trying to battle to gain that second place. So Brandon Taboni in a perfect position at the moment. Just needs to keep it clean, keep it consistent like he has been doing all night, and he will have his win here at Road Atlanta for round number 5. If he keeps it clean, but still a long way to go. 19 minutes left of this race, and anything can happen here. And well, it'd be interesting to see what the last 19 minutes hold. But Brandon Taboni at the moment doing an exceptional job after the close battling at the start between himself and John Derrick, and only again being caused by a slight mistake for John Derrick coming out of turn 5. And ever since then, Brandon Taboni has seen the rear headlights of John Derrick getting smaller and smaller in his rear view mirror as he starts extending that lead. As we see now, Richard Gavencu is about 0.9 of a second behind John Derrick. So John Derrick will be having them headlights of that Porsche all in his rear view mirror very shortly.
Yeah, this is round 5 of the championship. We've had so many different types of races so far this season. We've had the domination of Sven Newman in round 2. We had the close battle between Newman and Moldovan in Laguna Seca. We had John Derrick coming through with a close battle between the top 4 in Montreal. And here we sort of have the underdogs of the championship making their stake for the championship. Because if a win here is going to give you such a boost with the final few rounds to go and give you the confidence to get going. As we went through the championship order earlier in the stream, there's some great circuits coming up. Long Beach, tight and twisty. So whoever went well, we haven't had a proper road course yet, so that'll be the first one on there. Hungaroring, yeah, tight, twisty, could be quite interesting. The power of BMW won't be all inclusive there. Road America, the BMW will probably fight back. That's quite large. It's a bit like this circuit. It's got the long straights where BMW can really stretch its legs. And Phillip Island, well, that's anybody's guess, with the power being very useful on the straight, but very long sweeping corners around that circuit.
Yeah, definitely. So some really interesting rounds coming up. But obviously, we still got this one here tonight, where we have 12 drivers still going around, and we're watching Leon Penn pushing it to the limits. And that was a good example of, like you were saying about the corners. You know, they looked deceptively flat, but as we saw there, you know, Leon Penn getting bounced over the corners when he went over him. So, you know, these corners giving a little bit of problem to the drivers, and the added issue of driving at night on a circuit that has no lights on it. You know, it's just an other aspect that the drivers have got to think about whilst driving around on this track. So, you know, certainly the guys over in Apex are challenging these guys, not giving it all the easy courses with nice bright lights, throwing in a few challenges for the drivers, which makes it very more interesting for the drivers to try and handle these different aspects and different tracks and different times of days that are getting thrown at them.
Yeah, I mean, drivers will get used to the daylight and they'll have a certain tree that might break out, or a bump that might break out, or mark on the track. As Moldovan is back in pits, he must have been right about the fuel. He will need to refuel and probably will lose one position to Richard Grossman. But the drivers will always look for a marker on track. I'll know where to brake, I'll know where to accelerate, etc. And in the dark, that just disappears. Your lights are bright, but they won't highlight that tree you have on the left-hand side, or the Montil sign you might see, or the marker board. It just highlights the track in front of you, and that's all. That's where you need to aim your lights. You need to see where you're going, and things on the side where you'd normally brake for aren't there anymore. So you have to try and work out some other way of seeing that line, and it can take. I mean, it's been 45 minutes into the race, and people will still miss the braking area because they just can't see the normal braking marker.
Yeah, definitely. It takes a lot of skill to drive around the track at night on dark, certainly in a league race, and trying to maximise your speeds. You know, you start almost getting into tunnel vision as well with the cars in front of you and following them. And if they make a mistake, you almost 9 times out of 10 make that same mistake because you're just following in the slipstream, as we currently watching on board with John Derrick, and how close Richard Fenku is now onto the back of him, like 0.5 of a second. So chipping into that lead at the moment. So certainly the battle for the top 3 is going to be held out between positions 2 and 3, but they're starting to slowly chip away at first place, but not taking too much, as we see a bit of a mistake there by John Derrick in front, which puts Richard Fenku right on the back. The ideal place to be coming down this long straight, so we should get a decent slipstream, and I think we'll see John Derrick go big defensive on the inside of turn number 10, so it'll be interesting just to stay on board with Richard to see the line that John Derrick actually takes. So he's not taking that inside line, just taking the normal line, but we can see Richard getting right up onto the back now of John Derrick. So it'll be interesting as he tries to take that inside line coming down the last corner as they start a new lap. It'll be interesting to keep it clean, keep it on track. So we see here a change of position for P2. Richard Fenku getting that position done on the last corner after John Derrick had a bit of an issue, but John Derrick comes up and hits into the back of Richard coming around the first corner. That was a lucky escape for both drivers there. Could have been disastrous for both of them. They need to keep it clean, guys. You know, we got 12 minutes left of this race. You don't want to be losing a podium for a little silly mistake and getting that little red mist.
I was impressive by both drivers not to end up on the grass on the outside of that final corner, because it's very easy to do by yourself. So we see Chris Beats has gone round. He was having a great battle with Leon Penn and Hereford. Let's just see if he just goes round by himself, I think, here. We can see Penn in front battling. Yeah, he just catches the grass on entry and just goes round, clears out Colin McCone, and he's definitely losing a couple of positions there. As we see Grossman has come back into the pit, so that saved Moldovan a little bit. Grossman obviously missed, which is weird because Grossman pitted quite near the end, so I'm not sure why he felt the need to pit again. But Gavencu now up into second place and trying to close that 4.1 second gap to Tabone. Gavencu seems very good at looking after his tyres, I think. Laguna Seca put on a late charge as well, so this will be a PB for Gavencu as we look back now at a close battle for 5th place between Gribstad, Penn, and just in the background is Haritla, who will take any advantage of this. But these two are just pushing each other hard and just closing in on fellow Norwegian Hereford. So we will have a full-on battle for 4th place in a couple of minutes' time, as you see Hereford going down the bottom of the screen. But these three pushing each other hard, all looking for the best position. And Penn's really the one who's in the championship fight here. He's got Moldovan down in ninth, Newman not even here, and Penn needs every point he can get from this race. So if he could get past these two, fourth place would be a mega result for him in terms of a championship.
Yeah, definitely. I think what happened with Grossman, because we saw earlier on Grossman and Matthias Beer having a get together around turn number 1. So maybe that damage and maybe getting up a little bit more damage, deciding to play it safe and taking that 1 place loss just to get the repair done on his car and getting back to a full racing car. So that may be why Grossman had to pit for the second time on this race. I can't imagine it would have been fuel, because these guys know exactly how much fuel they do need to take to fill them into the end of the race, and certainly if they use it in one of the add-ons that auto fuels for them, they shouldn't get out and run out of fuel. But it'd be interesting to see, as we see now, John Derrick's falling off the back of Richard Gofencu at the moment, currently 1.8 seconds behind Richard Gofencu. So John Derrick may be suffering a little bit here in the last 10 minutes of the race, and deciding, you know what, third place is still good enough for this race. But certainly the battle at the moment, as we're on board with Leon Penn, as he's on the back of Gribstad, is he's like you said, he wants to get that fourth place, and if he gets that fourth place, I think he'll be over the moon.
Yeah, it would be a great result for Leon Penn. Currently, at the moment, there's only 6 points between John Derrick and Leon Penn. So this would actually move Derrick up into third in the championship, ahead of Leon Penn. So Penn does still need to gain a few positions here and keep himself in the top 3 of the championship. But I'm sure Sven Newman's sitting at home watching this, thinking this is literally almost the result he would have wanted with Moldovan down in 9th place. And it's an up and down season for Bogdan, really. He's looked dominant at times and then just slightly off the pace at times. And if at any point you feel slightly off the pace, as we see beats into pits, maybe just a bit of damage from that spin that he feels needs to be replaced. But will that give Bogdan Moldovan an extra position? Who knows? As Moldovan moves up into 8th place, so that's an extra position for Moldovan in this race. As we can see, there's still 12 runners out there. Matthias Beer, after those few spins, still plugging away to get 12th place, ahead just behind Engel. But here we go with Leon Penn and Gribstad, just as they head down towards the chicane for another lap. And we've just got to see whether he can just get close enough. He's in the slipstream, but the Porsches matching each other, and a very good showing by both Norwegians in 4th and 5th at this stage.
Yeah, definitely. Certainly the battle for 4th is going to be the hotly contested one tonight. Herford's starting to get pulled back in a little bit from Gribstad and Penn. I think as we saw earlier with Richard Gofencu and John Derrick, with the Leon Penn and Gribstad fighting each other out, they're pushing it to the absolute limit that they can do, which is bringing Herford back into sort of the mix. Still 1.1 second between Herford and Gribstad at the moment. But in the next couple of laps, where we've only got 8 minutes left, so around about 6 laps left for this to do. So Leon Penn's got it all to do in this final 6, but Gribstad is doing a great job just holding Leon Penn off, as we see Bogdan go off. In fact, he's back in the pits again. Very strange race from Moldovan. I wonder why he's gone into the pits this time. He's third time in his pit, so who knows? Obviously, he must have had a bit of a damage on his last lap, but gives that place back to Chris Beats, and Grossman manages to get in front of him now. And that Dominic Engel, who was in lonely 12th place to begin with, is now managed to get himself up to 10th place. So his commitment to the cause is starting to pay off with, as you said, I think his highest position was 11th. It'd be his best result tonight, even though it's probably one of his rounds to forget. Yeah,
great drive by Dominic Engel at the moment. And he's actually only sitting 8 seconds off Richard Grossman. So that shows you how good a drive it's been for Engel. He still had the pace further back, but I was just having a flick through the fastest laps actually, And the fastest lap so far has been at 18.25 by John Derrick, 18.26 by Brandon Tabone, 18.31 by Richard Gavenki. So that's sort of a top three. Leon Penn's done a 0.29 himself. But you go back to Dominic Engel, he's just been consistently around the 19 zeros and really pushed on. And it's done him no end of wonders with Moldovan needing to pit and with Grossman taking his second pit stop. That's left him only 8 seconds off the top 9. So great drive by De Engel.
Yeah, definitely. Moldovan's probably had a round to forget, actually, you know, and it's exactly that. I think it's Marmite tracks for Moldovan in 11th place, so we've seen him have some absolute extraordinary battles. The first round, he obviously won with 3 cars going over the line, literally within 4 thousandths of a second of each other. And then we saw the excellent racing in Laguna Seca, where it was like 45 minutes between himself and Sven Newman. And then we've seen the other end of the scale. Montreal, he didn't have the best round, and obviously tonight he's been struggling as we watch Herford going out wide there and Gribstad managing to get 4th place. So Herford struggling a little bit. Maybe the tyres are coming into play at the moment, but Leon Penn all over the back of Herford now, so he's already lost 1 place, and we could be seeing him lose a 2nd place very shortly with Leon Penn right on the back of him.
Yeah, it's just a little wobble for Herford, and as we said before, Herford and Gribstad not really being this high up in the races this late on, so they might have been pushing just that little bit harder throughout the race. But Penn is up behind the BMW, but I don't expect him to be able to make it through here unless Herford has made a mistake, because that power of the BMW will just be towing him down to the chicane. Gribstad very delighted to take that little gift turn 1 and move up into 4th place. But just having a quick look at the championship, it is Herford who has a best of 16th and Gribstad a best of 8th. So both of them going to improve this, even if Penn got past them both. As we see Penn running wide onto gravel. A lot of drivers been doing that, getting away with it. But Penn really pushing hard now to try and put Herford under pressure into a mistake. He's not going to look up the inside of there.
He really did.
Herford's made a mistake, but backs Penn up through the S's, and no way through there for Scott Penn. And they head onto the back straight, and this will be frustrating for Penn. He can see Gribstad pulling away in front, and now he probably knows that 5th place is the best he's looking for if he can get past the Norwegian.
Yeah, Herford making quite a few mistakes. Obviously, he knows that Leon Penn is right behind you, even more so on a night race, because them lights will be blinding in his rear view mirrors, and Leon Penn for his life is trying to get past him as best he can. So certainly from the pressures of Herford to the aggressive nature that Leon Penn's trying to get that 5th place off Herford is quite entertaining in this last nearly 2 minutes 30 seconds that they currently have. So another 2 laps I would imagine that we've got left of this race for Leon Penn to try and get past him. I think he will get past him, but you know, he's certainly being made, or as we see Herford make a big mistake there getting out into grass, which hands the place to Leon Penn. Leon Penn says thank you very much, I'll take that, and then looks up the road to Gribstad. Currently 1.6 seconds behind him, so maybe a bit of a tall order to get onto the back, but you know, at least he's now been given the free rein to try and get Gribstad in. So what was Gribstad's last lap? Actually was a 1:18.4. Leon Penn was a 1:18.2, so 0.2 of a second faster. The time is drastically running out in this race for Leon Penn to get hold of Gribstad. But you know, what we haven't looked at is we're looking at now is Brandon Tabone, obviously currently 1st place and stayed there. Richard Kafanku's managed to get some of the time back, so only 2.8 seconds behind Brandon Tabone in 2nd place, and trying to track him down. But where the race currently is, I think he's just going to run out of time. But a great recovery drive here for Richard Gafencu, and has literally dropped John Derrick in his wake at the moment. So we're on to the last lap at the moment. 14.6 seconds. So John must have had an issue, and he's now back into the clutches of Gribstad, who's only about 1.9 seconds behind him. So we see there's the timings are 1:23.3. So certainly had an issue with a 1:19.1. So certainly had an issue on that last lap there. I wonder if we got a replay of it.
Yeah, here's John Derrick as he comes through turn 1 and into the S-bends. He's already been dropped here by the two in front and just gets it wrong. Takes out Colin again and back onto the track. He's very lucky to get away with that with no damage whatsoever, but he will be under pressure on this final lap. But it's Brandon Tabone who has dominated this race, pulling out a gap even on my last lap. Further down, Moldovan has got past Engel for that top 10, but they're still fighting all the way to the line.
Yeah, definitely. So as we come into the last 10, turn 10A and 10B, coming up to the hill, coming down the hill to take the last corner of this race. So an excellent race, obviously fastest in the practice. He was. Oh, we got another lap.
I think that was a white flag, yes.
Oh, we have another lap. There we go. So
which is bad news for John Derrick.
Yes.
Very bad news for John Derrick, because Gribstad is not 8/10 off now and really pushing hard. And this will be the battle for the final podium position. Leon Penn, who was looking at maybe just about getting 5th or 6th a couple of laps ago, is now staring at a chance of a podium here. John Derrick really losing a lot of ground here. I don't know whether he's maybe struggling on fuel. Maybe he's under fuel just a touch. Or is he just struggling at the end of this race? Runs quite wide there, but that's what they do anyway. And the two Porsches of Gribstad and Penn are closing in, but it might be just a bit far back.
Yeah, you sort of start doubting yourself. When you start making them little mistakes, you lose confidence in the car and you start losing the time, as we see here. Gribstad, great getting on that. I don't think he's going to have enough time, but certainly give John Derrick something to think about as we watch Brandon Tabone here now. Pulled out 4.6 seconds over Richard Gavenko. I think Richard's obviously come off as we see him flashing his lights, coming around and obviously taking the win here at Road Atlanta. So fastest in practice, second on the grid in qualifying, and obviously pulls out a really great victory. Richard Gavenko coming in 2nd place, so really strong showing for him. A couple of mistakes here from Richard, and if he hadn't have made them, it would have certainly made it interesting there as we watch John Derrick, as we Ursula managed to get back Hereford. So I think Hereford's run out of fuel. Yeah, it looks like he has. He's obviously diving into the pit lane, so it certainly looks like he's run out of fuel there and he loses pace. So Leon Penn gets 5th. Hertler manages to get up a place into 6th place, but I think Hereford, as he passes the line in the pits, manages to keep hold of that 7th place, where we're watching Chris Beats at the moment, currently coming around in 8th place at the moment. In his own, Grossman 2 seconds behind him at the moment, so no fun there as you just watch him coming down the last corner round onto the start finish straight, and Grossman comes across in 9th place with Bogdan Moldovan currently in 10th place, so probably his worst position to finish on an ideal opportunity to capitalize on the championship. So yeah, all drivers now across the grid. Yeah, interesting race. Such a small grid, but certainly with the night time has thrown in a lot of issues for the drivers tonight.
Yeah, very strange one. And especially, Hereford, he was looking at 4th place at one near the end of the race, but as you can see in result, Brandon Tabone taking advantage of the championship leader not being here, and it's a 1-2 for the V-Rig CR Racing Esports team, as Richard Gavenko has took 2nd place at a PB for him and a 2nd podium in a row. Winner from Montreal, John Derrick, has come home in 3rd place, only just ahead of Hakon Grimstad with his best result of the season so far. Leon Penn closes in on the championship leader with 5th place. Top result for anybody who's in the top 3 of the championship, actually, here tonight. Otto Hertler in 6th, with Chris Beats in 7th. Ronald Grossman with a PB in 8th. Oyston Hereford falls to 9th with that fuel issue at the end, we think. 10th place for Bogdan Moldovan. He'll be kicking himself tonight to not take advantage of Sven Newman not being here. Dominic Engel, 11th. Matthias Beer was the last finisher in 12th, with the 4 retirements of Callum Gartman, Kieran Smart, Dennis Meisner, and the first one of Kurt Camilli.
Yeah, definitely. So we've got a couple of people waiting in the interview area. So I think I'm going to take the race winner, Brandon Taboni. So hello, Brandon, and welcome to the commentary booth. So a great race for you tonight. Obviously, a smaller grid than we're used to, but you made it fully pay, which will make your championship hopefuls a lot better. How did it go for you tonight?
Yeah, it was very good. Yeah, it's a shame that we had like nearly half grid, but yeah, a win is still a win. So yeah, I'm very happy with it. It's my first win at Apex. Very happy.
Yeah, it's always nice to get your first ARL Apex league win under your belt. So you didn't really have it all your way for the whole race. So you had quite a bit of company with John Derrick at the start of the race, and obviously Richard then started to close you two guys in when you were fighting. Did you feel the pressure of John Derrick in the first half of the race?
Yeah, obviously, like he did a mistake in the first lap, so I went for it, and then he was like behind me all race. He was pushing me, so I was pushing a lot. Then he managed to overtook me, and then he did a mistake again. So I went for it, and then after that, it was like I was pushing a lot. It's so hard to push on this track, but I managed to keep the first place.
Definitely. So obviously, this was the first round where we had driving at night. How did you find the difference between driving at night to driving in the day, and what things go through your head when you're actually driving the car? How do you gauge where you need to brake going into corners?
Yeah, night racing is a bit different than day. It's a bit difficult, but I think after experience, you will get used to it. So yeah, I even like it in the night. For example, here at Road Atlanta, you don't have like race lights, so everywhere is black. But with practice, you can get used to it.
Yeah, I think it certainly shows the people who practice a lot around this track, and the ones that maybe don't really do a lot of practice around this track, because certainly the pace that you had throughout that race was, your best was a 120, 118.26, and you were always within less than a second of that time going through the race. So you certainly had the consistency during that race. Does your mind start to wander when you're at night, because obviously you're seeing just right in front of your car? So does it take a lot more concentration to keep the car on the road?
Yes, it takes a lot more concentration, especially if you have no one in front of you, because all you see is black. If you are following a car, it's much easier for me. So
Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
So we've got obviously the rest of the season has actually come out now, so you can see what's coming up. We've got obviously the new Hungaroring coming up in round 7. Next round is Long Beach. Is there any round that you're really looking forward to in the final 4 rounds of the season?
Mm, I have to like there is Long Beach. I don't really like Hungary. Yeah, Hungary. I have to practice a bit since it's a new track for racing, and I think it's gonna be fun there. So
Yeah, definitely.
this
Road America and Phillip Island to end off the last 2 rounds of
okay.
the season as well.
Last two are nice as well. I like them.
Yeah, certainly be interesting around the Hungaro ring, and hopefully, we do have more of the drivers coming back out. I'm not sure why we've got such a small grid. Maybe they saw it as a night race and thought they'd give this one a miss. But yourself, you managed to get a 1-2 for your team, and obviously your first winning Apex Racing team. So congratulations, Brandon. Before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, thank you very much. I would like to give a shout out to Apex for this championship. Really nice. I like it. To our sponsor VRIG and our team Case Racing Esports and my friends there. that we work together to get this wins. Thank you.
Brilliant. Well done, Brandon, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week in probably not your favourite track in Long Beach. So good luck there, mate.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So that was Brandon Taboni there. Obviously, first place and race winner for tonight on the first night race on the GT Pro series that we got. So we have one more in the interview race review, which is Richard Gafencu. So I'll let you take that one, Dave.
Richard, second place, second podium in a row for you as well, and a 1-2 for the team. It doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah, it doesn't. Hello, guys. Yeah, it was a pretty good result. It was a tough race, I have to say. I had a higher wing than Brandon and John, so I was struggling really on the straights. I couldn't make up any positions. But yeah, night didn't make it any easier. You have to concentrate a lot. But yeah, 1-2, very happy. More to come, hopefully.
I think we saw you going for a bit of grass tracking at one point, turning your Porsche into a rallycross car. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah. Turn one was the trickiest corner for me. I was praying going into turn one every single lap. It was just like tricky. You either take it easier and you lose about two tenths and a half, or you just like break on the marker. And my setup was really unstable on the rear, which helped me in most of the parts of the tracks. But turn one was very, very dangerous, and yeah, I had many excursions in practice, so I knew how to handle it after that. Yeah.
Night racing, is that sort of something you'd prefer to see more of on the calendar? Because you certainly went well tonight.
I prefer daylight racing, but I mean, it's tough because you have to concentrate a lot more because you don't see as much. You just see the main breaking points, you see them all the time. But all around you, the next turn or what's coming up, or if something happens ahead of you, you don't see anything. So you have to concentrate and pay extra attention. But yeah, I'm okay with it. I don't really mind.
And we also seen you in the last two races. Obviously, you got third last time out in Laguna Seca, second this time. You've had a lot of late race pace. Have you got any sort of trick to that, or do you think it's down to your setup or your driving style?
I don't know, to be honest. It's kind of tricky at the beginning because the tension is higher. You don't want to make any mistakes, especially on cold tires. But once I settle into a rhythm, and I kind of get used to the setup, the car, and the track conditions, I just go faster and faster. I don't know, it's just me. Definitely need to work on that because it's bad. It can make you lose positions or make you make mistakes that you shouldn't make. But yeah, at the end of the race is the strongest for me usually.
And we've got 4 rounds left. Is there anywhere now we've got the calendar announced, is there anywhere you're really looking forward to going and anywhere you're sort of thinking, yeah, I don't really want to go there?
I have to agree with my teammate. Laguna Seca, Long Beach.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be great, I think, because of the walls and no room for mistakes. But other than Long Beach, I don't really know what tracks are coming up, to be honest. So I haven't taken a look at the calendar.
It's Hungaroring, Road America, and Phillip Island.
Love all of them. Yeah, I like them.
Have you managed to drive Hungaroring yet?
Yeah, definitely like it. I think everyone does except for the chicane. Everything else is perfect except for that chicane. It's really tight. It's tighter than you actually expect it to be.
Okay, and before you go, is there anybody you'd like to say thank you to?
I want to thank you. I want to thank my sponsor, VRig, my teammates. I want to give a shout out to a friend of mine, Corey, who makes my day at work a lot easier. Shout out to my dad, my mom, and my friends. That's it.
Okay, thank you, and congratulations on your second place.
Thank you.
That was Richard Gavencu, who finished second for his second podium in a row, and that's third and second in the last two races. So Maybe he's just on for that win at that circuit he doesn't seem to like.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, we had a bit of a small grid here tonight for whatever reason, and we lost a couple of drivers early on in the round. But that didn't put pay to what we saw on stream. There was still some really close battling, and they added the added effect of the night racing to contend with as well. So certainly, hopefully from a spectator's point of view, it's always good to see a night race on YouTube and live on Apex Racing TV. So hopefully to all you people out there on YouTube, you enjoyed it. It makes it a little bit harder for the commentary team to just make sure that we are on the right car, but it certainly adds a little bit of spice to the round. So we've got Long Beach next, Dave. Have you got any final thoughts on that round?
I think it could be an absolute thriller in terms of a championship. One mistake and you are in the wall. You've seen it over years with Long Beach, such a historic circuit as well, even though it's changed its layout a little bit. But one mistake, you're in the wall, you got that one fast repair. If you use that early on, you're going to have to be so careful throughout the rest of the race.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. So this is pretty much the end of this broadcast, so we're going to say goodnight from Road Atlanta, but we got Road America obviously coming up at the same time next week, so please join us there. Big shout out to our 3 sponsors, Virtual Racing School, SDK Gaming and Apex Racing Academy, for sponsoring this championship. So from myself, Andy Thompson, from Dave Whitehouse alongside me in the commentary booth, and the excellent pictures of Dennis Bratch in the production booth, we're going to bid you farewell tonight and look forward to seeing you next Tuesday for Long Beach, for hopefully a bigger size grid. So from tonight, goodbye.
Virtual Racing School was developed to provide support to the next generation of sim racers. No matter if you're a rookie or veteran or what car or track you'll be racing, our goal is to provide training every step of the way. We found that iRacing can be quite difficult without proper training. There needed to be a way to prepare for on-track racing. With VRS, you can literally learn from the best sim racers in the world, including 4-time NASCAR iRacing World Champion Ray Alfala.
And Ray Alfala is a 4-time champion of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series.
3-time iRacing Grand Prix World Champion Martin Kroenke.
Martin Kroenke becomes a 3-time world champion.
Rallycross World Champion Mitchell de Jong.
Mitchell de Jong is now champion for the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Series,
and many other top sim racers. Data packs include everything you need to start learning. Our World Championship coaches create the data packs by setting a hot lap or a series of fast laps for you to compare, analyze, and replicate. Data packs also include a tutorial where the coach points out techniques they use to hit the fast lap. This gives you access to the latest driving techniques and setups before you even hit the track. Sign up for a free account and download the VRS telemetry logger. With this application running seamlessly in the background, your laps automatically start syncing to the VRS website. From there, you can analyze and compare 2 laps of your choice, whether it's your data, the coaches, or your teammates. VRS will automatically target improvement opportunities so you can get up to speed even faster. VRS also makes it easy for you to request and schedule one-on-one or group coaching sessions. These sessions can range from 30 to 90 minutes, and you can select the car, track, and setup combination of your choice. Visit virtualracingschool.com today to sign up and get started.